Wow, it's Master John on the mix. That unmistakable music tells you it's time for the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. We've reached a milestone. Episode 20. We are now on YouTube, so you can watch and join in on all the fun. Everybody wave to the folks on YouTube. We're also welcoming Pandora. Timmy Whispers has been busy on the business side, adding Pandora to our stable of podcast carriers, so we welcome them aboard. Look forward to some great promotions in the weeks ahead. It is episode 20, and coming up a little bit later in the show, we have one of Stacey's good friends from his playing days. BJ Armstrong is going to join the show, talk about breaking into the league with Stacey in 1989. Stories about carrying bags and everything the rookies have to do. Did they make you do that, Stacey?
Yes, we did have to carry bags. Yes. We did a lot of rookie hazing type of things. And then finally we boycotted. We refused to do it anymore. It was, I remember distinctly, it was in Washington. And normally when, we're shooting around, the balls are all over the place. And then Phil said, rookies, go grab the balls. And then Michael Jordan decided to kick one up into the second tier and said, go get it, Rook. And that's when I drew the line in the sand. We was getting ready to throw down. I'm not doing it.
Not easy being a rookie on a contending team, is it?
No, I mean, you pay your dues. I mean, every rookie did it. I felt bad for Horace and Scotty because they got abused. I mean, they literally could have called 911. Mm-hmm. Charles Oakley really just beat the crap out of them. So we didn't have any veterans like that.
Right.
We had nurturing veterans like this. Just come over to my house for dinner. Bill Carter, come over to my house for dinner. Paxson, let's go have some lunch. We didn't have somebody like beating us up and us hiding under the beds or hiding in the locker room. So.
Well, we want to thank our great sponsors at Bubble Up. They are the Cloud Reimagined. Bubble Up is the new way to visually organize any kind of content all in one place. So make sure to download the Bubble Up app today and get to work. And our stable is here. You can see him on our YouTube feed. Timmy Whispers is back from his Florida sojourn. The Stinger, John Walsh, is here, as well as Southside Susie, who's going to weigh in on
Patrick's Day, belated.
Yeah, and the bar is ready to go.
Yeah, we're still celebrating. We're still celebrating.
What are we
go for 2 more weeks.
What are we serving tonight?
King's got some special items.
My special drink is the snake bite with Guinness and hard apple cider. I've already had a couple of them right now. I'm lucky to be here doing the show.
We got to get Stacey re-energized. He's a little bit logy.
Yeah, we got to. And we also
nobody knows how dry I am.
Yeah, Southside's got a drink special too. The Black Velvet, and that's champagne and Guinness.
Wow.
I'm going to go with traditional
special.
black and tan. Just the Bass and Guinness. And Timmy?
Cold beer.
Cold beer.
Tim, you got any top memory from your week in Florida? You look a little bit red, a little bit sunburned.
like
Just
a lobster. Larry the lobster. It's all red over here.
You got some butter?
That Irish skin, you got to put the 500 on and try to stay protected.
It took us forever to light him, I'm telling you. It's not easy.
Well, let's talk about the week that was for the Bulls. A busy week, a 5-game homestand to start the second half of the season. 2 losses to start against some undermanned teams in Philadelphia and Miami. Every team that came through, Stacey, was missing key guys. So I think from that aspect, 2 and 3, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, everybody's going to have guys missing all season long. It's been going on since the start of the season. So you have to play the games that are there, and you have to win the games when they're winnable. And, they had a little nice little stretch there where, they made a couple of adjustments as far as the starting lineup is concerned. Getting off to better starts has been probably the biggest problem for them all season long. Finally got some energy in that starting lineup with Sato and Thad, and they were rolling there for a second.
Yeah, Patrick Williams had the game where he scored 23 points, and then he kind of went back into his shell. It's, as we mentioned earlier, it's tough being a rookie in the NBA. What's it going to take for him to be more consistent on a nightly basis and realize at 6'8", 225, I can finish through people. I can score if I go hard to the rim.
It's going to take him some time. He's on a team right now with, there's a good mix of veterans, and then it's really Zach LaVine's team. And I think he's just trying to find where he fits in. And I think he just needs to understand that he's talented enough and has the ability to be one of the mainstays here in Chicago. He could be a cornerstone because he has the physical tools. When you look at him at 19 years old, 6'8", 225 pounds, he's shown you this year in stretches and spurts that he could be very good. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of just getting confidence and going out there and just doing what he does best. Now, you got to remember, he was the 6th man on a very good Florida State team. and he had to find his way in that team too. So that's just a little carryover, I think, from his college team.
You mentioned the change in the starting lineup. Billy Donovan obviously got tired of seeing the team get off to slow starts and have to dig their way out of a big hole. So he benched a couple of the young guys, and Wendell Carter Jr. and Kobe White, and put Thad Young in the starting lineup as well as Tomas Sadaransky. And what Thad does for me is his ability to pass out of that mid post really opens up the entire offense.
Well, he also gives him scoring inside. He's shooting a career high, almost 80% in the paint. And, going back to last year, that's why it's so crazy when you think about it. He's a career 69% shooter within the paint area. Last year was his lowest he's ever shot. And that was based because of the scheme that they were using. Jim Boylan had him at the three-point line standing out there. He's not a three-point shooter. He can take some shots, but he's not a three-point shooter. So you kind of took him away from his element last year where he was posting up and he liked to take advantage of matchups. And give Billy Donovan a lot of credit. Billy Donovan did his homework on Thaddeus Young. He knows Thaddeus Young. He's put him in positions to be successful. And Thaddeus, probably last year, he probably wouldn't tell you this, but he wasn't having fun playing last year. 13th year in the league, and then you were told you're going to be a starter here, you're going to be a main contributor, and then it didn't work out, and then you maybe start to question yourself. Maybe it's time to hang it up. Maybe I need to ask for a trade, but he never did that. He was professional. He kept working. He was a leader on the floor, in the locker room. And now he's getting his chance. And for all the people who kept saying, "Oh, he's terrible, he's washed up," no, he's not. I'm telling you, system and coaching is two big things that can help a person's career.
Yeah, he kind of went from a guy that Bulls fans were wondering, why did they give this guy 3 years, $42 million, to can we re-sign him and have him forever? And that's the way the fan base can be a little bit fickle. And we saw what happened again in the San Antonio game. Thad got off to a great start in his 1,000th NBA game. Wow. He was scoring like crazy.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, the second half rolls around, and they stop playing. No ball movement, no player movement, and a lot of ISO ball. And the guards were not making three-point shots, and they really let San Antonio get back in the game and steal a win they had no business winning.
Well, you're definitely right. They had no business winning that game. They were, in my opinion, they were ready to fold it up because they were not hitting any shots. They were struggling. DeJounte Murray couldn't knock a shot down, couldn't get a layup to go. You could see the frustration. The one guy that kept him in the game was Portal, the big kid. He shot 7 for 7 at one point. He kept them within striking distance. They were still down 20, 23 points, but he gave them some scoring inside that kind of slowed the tempo down a little bit. And what really happened, to be honest with you, is that when Billy Donovan goes to that second unit, now you're taking off two of your best players off that second unit.
Yeah, and Temple's out too.
Because they're one of the best benches in the league when Sato and Thad is in that second unit. Now you're taking that group off who gives you energy every night, and you're taking those two guys and you're putting them in that starting lineup, and they're giving the starters energy. Now, where do you get that energy now on that second team? Who comes up and plays those roles that Sato and Thad plays? Because you got Garrett Temple out right now. So you got Otto Porter, who just came back from injury. He's trying to get his legs underneath him. Kobe White and Wendell Carter really should be the mainstays of that second unit. But the problem with those two guys is that, sometimes when you get benched and you get taken out of the lineup, you take it personally. It's not personally. You have to look at your performance. When you're not doing what you're supposed to do and you're not out there, helping your team, and you force the coach after, Wendell's had 126, straight starts. You've had a lot of time to go out there and be aggressive. You've had a lot of time to show them what you could do. And this year, for whatever reason, new coach, new attitude, he's giving you the green light. He's telling you to shoot. He's saying be aggressive. And then all of a sudden you go out there and you're passive and you're not giving the team anything offensively or defensively, and it just puts them in a hole.
It's an alarming trend, though, to see another big man. This guy was 20 and 16. Portal that you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of big men come in.
Well, Tony Bradley did it when Embiid was out. He had a big game against the Bulls.
And now we got Jokic coming up. So, I mean, that.
Yeah, interior defense is an issue.
Jokic. Woo. I'll tell you right. I think you like that button way too much right there. Okay, buddy? I think you like that button way too much.
I like that button.
You know what I
good
thought
button.
was really funny on the broadcast yesterday with you and Adam Amin, where you're talking about Popovich, growing his hair out, and the beard, all that.
Man.
He looked like a poor man's Pat Riley. I mean, Pat Riley slicked back, and it looked like he'd wandered in off the street.
Remember the show? Remember the show? The HBO was the Crypt Keeper. Remember that the little Crypt Keeper with the long blonde hair? That's a Greg Pop. I couldn't say it on air yesterday, but I wanted to. I held my tongue. I can say it now on the podcast. But it looked like the little Crypt Keeper on Tales of the Crypt or something. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But long hair ain't for everybody. If he would just threw a headband on, he might have been able to rock that a little bit.
Ponytail, maybe?
During the first half, he almost looked like a mummy standing over there. He wasn't really saying much. His guys were getting pounded, and then he was like, well, we'll take the L. We'll move on to the next city. I think they play Milwaukee next. So he's
they
like,
do.
we're going to stay in the Midwest,
Yeah.
and, I'll just enjoy some Chicago food and a nice glass of wine. And they came back,
You know what? One thing I said about, Greg Popovich and I think he's helped Tom Thibodeau in this regard is that he has changed with the time. This is a guy, it was his way or the highway, the San Antonio Spurs way. You had guys like David Robinson, Tim Duncan. They all fell in line. Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, all those guys, Sean Elliott, all those guys fell in line to that tactic of coaching. But this new generation of guys are not going for that.
Right.
So you have to change and adapt the way you coach to the talent that you have now. Because back then you could yell at Tim Duncan. You could yell at David Robinson and get them to answer the bell. Some of these kids in this new NBA, if you yell at them, they're looking for their mom. I mean, seriously, they're looking, their feelings get hurt. They take it personally. Instead of going out there saying, hey, my coach wants me to get better. This is why he's telling me this. They're like, the coach doesn't like me. I want to be traded.
And Pop will be the coach for the U.S. national team at the Olympics this summer. One of the news items since we talked to you last, Zach LaVine was named as one of the guys who will be in the player pool, but there's like 50-some players that could be involved. But, the guys that get to the finals, if it's the Lakers and the Nets, let's say, that's going to take five guys that would have definitely made the Olympic team out of that pool. So I don't know if Zach has a good chance or a decent chance, but it's nice to be named and to be recognized by your peers.
Well, he should have been named a couple of seasons ago. When they put that pool together, they left him off. Zach clearly is a top 15 player in this league. Clearly, this year especially. So I think now he's being recognized as being one of those players. Now, whether he makes the team or not, I don't know. It just all depends on what they're looking for. But they're going to go with the superstar players because it has nothing to do with, basically winning. Because you can put any NBA team out there and they're going to win. It doesn't matter who it is. You could leave LeBron James off and you could put Lonzo Ball in there. They're going to win. They're going to win regardless.
Right.
So what it comes down to is marketing. The guys who are going to bring in the big bucks. Yeah. And so you want LeBron James there. You want Kevin Durant there. And that's why it's so unfair to guys like Zach is because they don't have marquee name that really sells tickets globally. Chicago's great. He's big in Chicago, and he might be big where he's from in Washington, but he doesn't move the needle per se globally like some of these other guys, Kyrie Irving, these big name superstars. A guy like Derrick Rose, if they took Derrick Rose, he moves the needle globally. I mean, he's huge in China. So, that's where it comes down to at the end of the day.
Tim, you awake over there?
I was just completely entranced by what he was saying.
Oh my God!
Agreeing with
I
everything.
was like, wow.
Oh my God!
Sometimes I just say, wow.
I didn't know he was there. I was like, look over. Did Jim leave? And I looked over. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. YouTube captures everything.
Yeah.
I was just dreaming again.
Don't wake me, I'm dreaming.
Remember that song? Oh.
Hey, John was working the Sixers-Bucks game yesterday, and there was a little bit of a mini controversy at the end where Milwaukee wins the game in overtime after coming back from, 17 points down?
Yeah.
And Giannis sits down on the court to celebrate.
Mistake.
Big
mistake.
And Dwight Howard, who's the king of goofing around over his entire career, got all upset about it. Said he's going to go stone cold Steve Austin on him.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
That's going to come back and haunt them if they meet up. Listen. Philadelphia, me and John were talking about this earlier today. Philadelphia is going to be a tough out.
Yeah, they will.
When it comes down to it. When you get Embiid there, and no one in the Eastern Conference can match up with Embiid as the center, okay? And then you throw in a guy like Ben Simmons who can take your best player out defensively. He can guard Giannis by himself. He did it last night and really kind of frustrate him a little bit. But I don't see. I think that was a bad idea. That was kind of like when they when T.O. and them went on the Dallas Cowboy and went on the emblem.
Yeah,
it's center midfield. Yeah, you can't do that, man. You can't do that.
And one of the things that was painful in the post-game press conference was Giannis was showing that he embraced Philadelphia by having a Philly cheesesteak, and he had problems with the cheese.
Yeah,
calling it whiz whiz.
Whiz whiz. Is it whiz whiz? Wee whiz.
Well,
It was kind of an uncomfortable moment.
He's having fun. That's what he says. He had 28 in the second half after only having 4.
But will he have fun when the playoffs start?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
he's
When they make him shoot.
The Bucks made a move. They acquired PJ Tucker in a trade with Houston, but PJ is going to be 36 in May. He's having a bad season. I don't know that he tips the scales in any direction towards the
me
Bucks.
and John were talking about this today.
You did the show before you got
we
here.
had the show, he's the producer.
Oh my gosh,
the show before the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, I like PJ Tucker. I like the fact that he's a tough guy. He brings toughness to him, which Milwaukee will need at some point. But he doesn't. I'm the needle mover. He does not move the needle.
Yeah.
And I look at Milwaukee as being, where they get in trouble is that, and me and John were talking about this today. Giannis wants to play all 5 positions. Number one. Okay, you've got Drew Holiday, who's a very good point guard.
Very good.
You got to put the ball in Drew's hand and let him get other guys' shots. It's hard for Giannis to get people shots. Giannis can make the basic play. If someone comes towards him, he sees the double, he can make the pass. But in the playoffs where he struggles is when they're mixed coverages, when they're coming from different angles. They're not coming from the basic place where he saw during the regular season when he was able to make those adjustments. Now they're coming from the left, the right. They're coming on dribble. They're coming on 2 dribbles, and when he comes up the floor, they're attacking him, making him get the ball up early, forcing turnovers. So if he's going to get past, the second round and get to the Eastern Conference Finals, I believe they've got to let Drew Holiday be the point guard. They've got to let him set up the game and get the ball and distribute to the right people.
He's absolutely right. I don't know how much of a ceiling is left with Giannis. I mean, he's come such a long way, and the free throw shooting has been
He still wants to take that 3-point shot, though.
I know.
He took that one in overtime, which he made.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Because the teams just are daring him to shoot that shot.
The issue, like he mentioned, you got Simmons and Embiid. You got the 3 in New Jersey, and I think, here we go, Brooklyn, excuse me. But now, like you said, Holiday, Middleton, they're going to have to really step up. I mean, Middleton was 0 for 4 from 3, had 15 points. It was DiVincenzo last night. But that's what I think they need. Giannis can do everything, but somebody else needs to step up and really be a superstar.
Another team that's been hot in the East is the Miami Heat. They got Jimmy Butler back from the ankle injury. They lost last night, but they won like 9 of the last 11. I saw something interesting that Jimmy was, during the game, was trying to help R.J. Barrett out, saying on this move, when you go to the basket, you got to lean into me in order to try to draw the foul. He's doing this during the game. Did you ever have a vet helping you out during a game?
And helping the opposing player out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh wow! You know what? Jimmy's a nice dude. I would
trying
never.
to sell him some coffee too.
You know what? Maybe he was trying to soften him up and make it look like I'm helping you, and then I'm going to kill you later on. You know what I'm saying? That's stuff like Michael would do. So maybe Jimmy took a page out of MJ's book. Let me butter him up a little bit, soften him up, and then fourth quarter kill him. Who knows? I mean, but he's a Thibodeau guy, and he's probably talking to him about Thibodeau and how to play with Tom Thibodeau, and so I mean, there could have been a lot of in that conversation.
The Brooklyn Nets are on a big run with Kevin Durant. The news is that he's going to be out a couple more weeks with that hamstring strain, and James Harden is going back to his Houston mentality of doing everything, putting up 40-point triple doubles and leading the league in assists. Is he in that MVP conversation even after what happened early in the season in Houston?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, what he did last night against Indiana. I mean, single-handedly beat Indiana by himself on the road. And he's a triple-double waiting to happen. A lot of people didn't think that him and Kyrie would be able to play together. They're actually showing that they both can play together because James Harden is being the primary ball handler as a point guard, and Kyrie now gets to be the scoring guard. He gets to come off single doubles, and all the little bit pieces that are around those guys are really playing well. Joe Harris is having a tremendous season. He's probably getting more wide open jump shots than he's had in his career.
He was 5 for 7.
Playing with these guys. I mean, he's wide open. I mean, because you got to double Kyrie, you got to double James Harden, and when Kevin Durant comes back, you got to guard him. Then you got Blake Griffin, and you got you may get Drummond, or you may get LaMarcus Aldridge. There's so many other possibilities that they may get. They're not done wheeling and dealing, because they are gearing their team to the championship. They feel like they got enough right now to win the East, but they are gearing for the Lakers. They're putting their team together for the Lakers.
Another team in the East that's been playing well is the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball is the runaway favorite for the Rookie of the Year. And not only that, but I think he's going to be a big-time impact player in this league for a lot of years to come. I know the Bulls are happy with Patrick Williams, but you're thinking, wow, I wish I would have got that guy. I
think a lot of teams are saying that. A lot of teams thought that he was a gimmick. A lot of teams thought the competition that he played, his shot selection. I'm going to tell you one thing about this kid, and I called this about this kid. This kid has been playing up since he was in the 6th grade, playing with like high school kids. You can only get better by playing against older competition. And this is a kid who has a lot of swag to him. He's very confident in his ability. I heard where they talked about, changing his shot. They talked about changing my shot. He goes, I've been shooting like this my whole life, and it's been going in. I'm not changing my shot. Whereas his brother he was making those shots in high school, and they got with his shot and changed it. And, he changed it because of the pressure from, coaching staffs. But I give LaMelo credit. LaMelo looks like Pete Maravich out there.
He
Seriously.
does.
Like, he looks like the second coming of Pete Maravich. I mean, the passes he makes are not just routine, behind the back pass. I mean, they got flair to him.
Talk about a guy you can market.
Yeah. You were talking about pressure earlier. You know what pressure is when you're a teenager, should be in high school, and your dad says you're going to go play in Eastern Europe with 35-year-old guys with beards and cages around the court and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he learned
He's
the
got
hard
LeBron.
way.
Aren't they playing the Lakers
Yeah,
coming
tonight.
up? Yeah, tonight. Wow.
But you know what, though? I mean, this is a kid, like I said, like he has seen and done everything at a young age. Got taken from his high school team. He gets thrown over to, Yugoslavia to play with a bunch of old men that had hairy backs and all that other stuff over there. Gym quality players, not really like the top division,
right.
and that's why everybody was talking, well, he hasn't really played against anybody. He's playing against like C-level competition. Then he came back over and he went to that Spire High School where they played kind of like a barnstorming type thing and really looked good playing that. And then next thing you know, he goes over to, New Zealand, Australia,
yeah.
And he goes over there and he tears up that league. And so people started taking him serious. And then he grew like three or 4 inches. He grew. Like he went from like a 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" kid to 6'8". And now he's a point guard at 6'8", doing the things that he's doing. And that team looks like a totally different team when he's on the floor with them. Everybody runs hard. Everybody cuts hard. Everybody understands that if I'm running on transition, he's going to get me the ball.
We're going to have BJ Armstrong in just a minute, but before we bring BJ in, I want to ask you, the trade deadline is next Thursday, March 25th. Do you anticipate the Bulls making any moves at all?
It's hard to say. I mean, unless you're moving an expiring contract. Because the Bulls really don't want anything back unless it's beneficial to them. You don't want to take another contract on. You don't want an albatross type deal. So they're in a good position right now. Honestly, I know fans want to see them do something different, and but you got to remember, Arturas and Mark. There's only 2 guys on this team that they got.
Right.
They didn't bring all these other people on. So they're evaluating. They're taking their time. And they should. They need to see if Zach and Lowry can play together. Is Kobe a point guard? Is do we keep, Thaddeus Young or Thomas Satoransky? They're evaluating all these guys. And it may take the whole year because based off of COVID, they didn't get a chance to look at any of these guys. They didn't get a chance to study any of these guys. This is the first time they've really got when the season started, preseason, and then the regular season, that they got a chance to actually evaluate this talent.
It's going to be interesting to see if any of the contenders make a major move before March 25th. A lot of teams trying to catch up to Brooklyn in the East and the Lakers in the West. We'll see what kind of trades. We'll probably have another podcast coming up before the trade deadline next Thursday. But coming up next here on the Give Me the Hot Sauce podcast, episode 20, Stacey's good friend and former teammate with the Bulls, BJ Armstrong, joins us. You're going to want to listen to that. Welcome back to episode 20 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. And now we want to welcome in this week's special guest. He broke into the NBA with Stacey King back in 1989, the pride of the Iowa Hawkeyes. BJ Armstrong joining the show. BJ, thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, Mark, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure with my man, Stacey King. I mean, I'm just so excited to be on the show today. You guys have one of the greatest podcasts I've heard. Oh, it's fabulous. And you know what? It's a treat because playing with Stacey, it was the greatest. He made the road trips the great. That's the only thing that I miss in the NBA are the road trips, because Stacey King was the best. He was the best of the best. He made every road trip entertaining. You never knew what he was going to say. Stacey is the reason that I am so conscientious of what I wear, because I knew he was going to talk about my shoes, my socks, my clothes. Everything was fair game with him. And I just wanted to be with him on the bus. So I feel like this is me reliving those times that I get a chance to spend an hour, because the only thing I miss in the NBA is the arena to the airport, because that was Stacey King's time, and he was going to go after everybody, and nobody
Load the
was
clip.
off limits.
Load the clip.
And what you guys see on television, because he does an incredible job, that's just so toned down to what he really, his stand-up act that he was doing back in the 80s and the 90s was meant. And I just, so it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to turn it over to Stacey, because I know he's going to go after me somehow.
No, I'm not going after you. No, you're my boy. You're my man. You're my boy. You're my oldest son's godfather. I'm not going to go at you like that, man. You're my boy, man. Hey, tell the listeners, Beej, what you've been up to lately. They like to know what you've been. Everybody here in Chicago loves you. They always want to know, when I was advertising you're going to be on the show, they want to know what you're doing, what you think about the Hawkeyes. There's so many things that people want to know about you. So start with that.
Yeah, well, since my playing days, I worked in the front office for a little bit there in Chicago, and somehow, some way, I started representing players. So I've been doing that for the last 15 years or so, and life is good. I can't complain. I'm still around the business, still, learning about the business as it's evolving, players, the league. From when we first started, playing, when we came in here in the late 80s. And so all is good. Married, 3 kids, just, doing what I do. So living on the West Coast has been, a little different, growing up a kid from the city of Detroit. And I remember when Stacey would always shout out LA, from being there from Lawton,
Lawton area, baby, LA, baby.
Yeah, he was shouting out LA back in the 80s. I was like, where are you from? Los Angeles? He's like, nah, from Lawton. Whenever I see big LA signs, I always think of Stacey. There's something that always brings me back to him, because that man there has been putting a smile on my face, and I'm so happy for him, knowing his kids, and now he gets a chance to see what we all saw for years on the back of the bus, being in the locker room, and he gets a chance to do that here in your home. So it's a treat to be here and be with my man, the King. That's what we call him, the King, baby.
That's what we call him.
Hey, we asked Stacey at the top of the show, what's it like for a rookie in the NBA? All the hazing things that go on. But you joined a team that was ready to do some great things. They had Michael and Scotty and Horace, and they had Bill Cartwright and other veterans. What was it like for you and Stacey to have to break into that group? Because Phil Jackson, people think of him as the Zen master, but Stacey's told us he could be pretty rough on you guys.
Yeah, well, Mark, I knew I was coming on today. I want to bring something that I've kept my entire career. No, this picture means a lot to me. I don't know if you guys can see it here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see this picture here. This was the very first day. This is can you guys see it?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay, this was the very first day that Stacey and I and Jeff Sanders, we all met in Chicago after we got drafted. And I've kept this picture because I came into the league with those guys, and Stacey and I, here we are 30-something years later, still laughing. And that picture's always meant something to me. So for me to as I was embarking on my career and didn't know where it was going to take me, didn't know what I was going to do, I just remember those were the first guys that I met with, and those were my brothers, and they always meant something to me. And I've always kept that picture. And, my kids now, they always make fun of me. They're like, Dad, you guys couldn't get a clear picture. Where's the digital image?
It's black and white.
It was like, what color was that suit?
It looked like one of those old Western Wanted posters, dead or alive.
Exactly. So what was it like? You know what? I got a chance, and still to this day, to be friends, and I made some great friends along the way. And I didn't know what to expect. I was just a young kid. Mark, I would love to tell you that I knew what I was coming to. I didn't know. I knew what the NBA was about. I didn't know. I knew Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. I didn't know that either. I didn't know Scottie Pippen was. I didn't know these guys were, I didn't. Phil Jackson's first year was our first year. I didn't know he was going to go on to be the Zen master and all those things. I had no idea. But what I did know is that I came in with some other guys, Stacey and Jeff, and I leaned on those guys a lot as a young player, and we were all going through the same things. And we had a lot of fun along the way. We worked hard, but, we all just kind of figured it out. And here we are. I'm on Give Me the Hot Sauce, podcast with my friend, still laughing. and I know he's got some great jokes. He's being calm right now. I know he's got something to say.
No,
so I'm getting all my little talking in early because I know the king.
He's heard the podcast.
Hey, listen, I don't like y'all's comments over in the background. Okay, Peanut Gallery, you need to be quiet back here, okay? BJ can say that, but y'all can't say nothing. So, kid, I always tell people when we were rookies, like we'd get into a hotel, and some of our if we weren't practicing, we'd always go visit every mall in almost every city we went to, man. It was like we had nothing else better to do because we're just kids, we're just some young kids, and right. All the other guys were married, a lot of the veterans were married, and me and BJ was just, two kids coming from college. We just go visit every mall. Yeah, back then we were flying commercial and carrying our own uniforms, carrying our own shoes. I had to wash our uniforms on back-to-back games. So it was different times back then, I just remember the king always making fun of everybody after about 2 or 3 games. Baby, them uniforms are standing up on their own. Stacey had everybody afraid to wear their uniforms and warm-ups because he was talking about everybody. He's making this up. Hey, listen, I wasn't that bad.
No, you were that bad. But it kept us light, and so it was just a different time. And I remember those times we would get to these places, and we had to take the first flight out of every city. Oh, that was tough. I remember, Stacey and I would always try to help each other. If Stacey wasn't down, I was going to call him on the phone, and vice versa. So we were just trying to make it. Where are we going to eat? I remember one trip here, we were in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we were staying at a Marriott or something. And, it was like, there was no room service. And I remember Stacey and we had to walk over to like that Denny's or something over there before the game, before we walked over to the arena, the Salt Lake Palace. So here we are walking over in between the fans talking about, we're players.
Sure you are, yeah.
They were like, who are you guys? It was like little stories like that where, we just 2 rookies trying to figure it out before we figured out the room service and all the other things. And so those were great times, and it was fun because I had someone else a shared experience with, and those were good times.
BJ, you were featured in the Last Dance documentary. I don't know how they missed Stacey. I guess they were afraid of what he was going to say.
Yeah, they didn't want me on there. It wouldn't have been called The Last Dance. It'd have been called The Last Fight.
It'd been called Sayonara. As he takes a draw of his Guinness. Stacey celebrating St. Patrick's Day a day late.
Yeah, hey, we stretching out St. Patrick's Day, kid.
He's looking for an endorsement deal, BJ.
Some good stuff. I'm not even a Guinness drinker, but only on St. Patrick's Day I'll drink Guinness.
Right. Or the day after.
Guinness and Angry Orchard apple. Mix it half and half. Ooh, Lord have mercy.
We're gonna have trouble docking this boat, as Johnny Bach used to say. Don't tell me how stormy the seas are. Just dock the boat.
Oh my goodness. So BJ, tell the listeners, what the transition was like for you from going from player to front office into representing players.
You just glossed over the whole last dance.
The last
thing,
dance.
No one's talking about last dance right now, okay? We're just talking about right now, okay?
Okay, we'll just gloss over the last.
Yes.
We're
just gonna slide right by the last dance. We can always come back, make a U-turn.
Question.
All right, we'll talk about. So, what was it like? Well, Stace, I was always curious, and I was always curious of how this business really worked, and no one ever took the time, at least in my inner circle, to tell me like, how did I really get drafted? Like, what's the process? Like, no one ever told me how a player really gets traded. I was aware of the salary cap, but no one really sat me down and explained it, how it really worked. How does a trade really take place? So my curiosity is what brought me to the table, because I wanted to understand this world that I had, suddenly came into. I didn't know what it meant to be an NBA champion. I was there, I played, I tried to do my job the best I could. And all of a sudden we won. And all of a sudden I'm playing with people. They're saying, this guy might be the greatest of all time. Okay, well, how did that happen? And, I really didn't know. And like all of a sudden, you're playing, and, the late Johnny Bach, he was telling us things, and I was like, okay. And Tex Winters was saying ping. Well, what does that mean? So I was just curious about the whole process that I was in, and I knew I had a glimpse of something that was rare. And Bill Cartwright, who I know Stacey feels, I have so much gratitude towards Bill Cartwright and those veteran guys that we had on our team, right? It was John Paxson and Bill and, Craig Hodges and, and Charles Davis, all of those guys who were there. Bill was always there to remind me of like how difficult this was. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew it wasn't rare. I knew it was very rare that we were doing, because Stacey and I were in year 2 or 3 or something when we had won. So it was just my curiosity brought me into this. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to know what it was like to build a team. And so I went into the front office. I just wanted to know what this league was really all about. And one of my eye-opening experiences is when I left the Bulls. I got a chance to see what other organizations were about. I got a chance to see and experience other teams and players and coaches and all of those things. So it just kind of just brought me there. And I had no idea that I would eventually be here representing players, but I certainly wanted to have an understanding of the league and the teams and kind of like really make sense of the life I had, because I didn't know it was happening so fast. We won 1 championship, 2 championships, 3 championships. And all of a sudden, I just wanted to really kind of get a glimpse of the world that I was in too. And I dreamed of it as a kid, but it was a reality. So it just didn't make sense to me because it was all happening so fast.
I did want to get back to The Last Dance, though, because
there, buddy.
It was, Michael Jordan obviously was the executive producer, and the story was told through his eyes. Obviously, you and Stacey were part of the first three-peat, but not the second three-peat. You played against the Bulls in the playoffs and during that second three-peat. Right. But the totality of the project, going through the 10 episodes and watching it, did you think it was a fair portrayal of that group, or do you think it was maybe skewed through Michael's eyes?
Well, Mark, for better or for worse, when you understand the business that you're in, okay, you understand the business and the media and all of those things. Mark, Stacey and I got a chance to live this. And the thing for me watching this, I was laughing to myself the entire time because I was saying to myself, God, it's always someone else's life that's cool or exciting. I had no idea that my life was this exciting. I had no idea that all of these things many of them that were portrayed here, whether right, wrong, were really, just part of the business. And the one thing is I understand the economics of the business that we are in. Okay. And this is a business, right? And so I don't have a problem with any of it because I understand it. I lived it. And most importantly, those people that were in that locker room, those were my friends. Those were my friends then, and these are my friends now. So what I shared with Stacey King, I know I can call Stacey and ask Stacey anything. I know I can call Craig Hodges. I know I can call Horace Brett, Michael Jordan, so forth and so on. So the business is the business, and I can laugh at that. But these people mean something to me, and everyone in that everyone that was in that uniform in that locker room, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's to me is what made that group special. Is that we can say things to each other, but other people can't say it. And I know if there was an issue or something that I could call any one of my teammates, any of those coaches, and I just left it in the locker room. So to me, it's funny. Stacey and I can look at each other and we know what each other's thinking. We ain't really got to say nothing about it. Just when I talked to MJ, it's nothing to talk about it. I understood everything that was said, but the people who are commenting about it, you weren't in that locker room. So, okay, that's fine. And the beautiful thing about our team is it's a mystery. Here we are with a franchise that won 6 NBA titles, all of these things, and no one's ever really said anything. And that to me is the beauty of the team. Like, I don't hear Stacey saying, well, this is what happened in the locker room. No, me and Stacey know. Me and Stacey can talk about it, but y'all can't talk about it. And that to me is what was said. Now, I understand why it was made. I understand how it was made. I understand the reasons it was made. That's the business that we're in. Mm-hmm. Stacey King and I understood who the star players were, and we understood who the role players were. I was a role player, so I understood my role, and I understood it then. I understand it now, and I understand the business that I work in. So, okay, that's what was said. But I know if there was something that was out of place or whatever, and I know every one of those guys will pick up that phone and take my call, and vice versa. Yep. And so I don't have a problem with anything that was said then. I don't have a problem with anything that was said now. And, that was then. That was a young kid. I'm 53 now. I don't even remember, honestly, half of the things that was said. I was like, oh, I forgot about that. I was like, oh, did that really happen? My kid, the funny thing about all of this and the best thing that happened for me about the Last Dance was, honestly, it gave my kids who weren't born at the time, it verified that I actually played in the NBA, because I don't think they really believe that I actually played. Yeah. So I was happy that they was like, okay, dad might have played. I'm not sure if he superimposed himself in there. That was the greatest thing about it. And that gave them a chance to like really see a part of my life, because at home, I'm just dad. No one really cared that I played or won or whatever it is we did. They was like, oh, dad had a life before we came along. Yeah, I had a life. I did a few things, but to me it was great business. So I just had fun with it. I'm old. I anytime I could talk about some things, see the guys, laugh, it's a good day.
Let's talk a little bit about this new NBA compared to the NBA that we played in. With all the 3-point shooting and you being such a great 3-point shooter when you played, because we asked Craig Hodges this too, what do you think you would do in this league now with the way you shoot the basketball? And then Craig was like, well, the coaches, the players would be mad at me because I'd be shooting every time. So how with the way you shot the basketball and the way you handle the ball, what would you think you've done in this league?
Stacey, that's a hard question. I really don't know, because the one thing that I prided myself on, Stacey, is I wanted to be a pro. I wasn't big on I'm the best at this, I'm the best at that. I just wanted to be a pro, right? I wanted to be like Bill and all of those guys. I just wanted to be a pro. Like when you would see Terry Porter or the older players, I was like, man, these guys are pros. These guys do this every single night. I think personally, my makeup, I would struggle probably in today's game, because I didn't have the mindset to just come down and shoot a shot. If Stacey King was open, I felt the responsibility to pass it to the guy who was open.
You know,
that's just me. So the other night I was watching, it was the game Denver versus I think Washington. And it was they were down 2 at the end of the game. It was a 1-on-4 fast break. And all of the guys ran to the 3-point line. And I paused as I was watching the game because I suddenly realized, 1, I'm old. And 2, the game that I love and has been playing my entire life, I didn't recognize it because that wasn't a natural response for me to be on a 4-1 fast break and run to the 3-point line. So how do I think I would struggle in today's game because I wanted to always respect the game. And I'm not saying that the players today don't respect it. I'm just saying they play the game not with the same discipline that I learned how to play the game. So the discipline of having a good shot, but Stacey King has a better shot, that to me just seems like the right thing to do that the basketball guys would require me to do. It doesn't require me to come down and just pull up a 1-on-4 3 because I'm a good 3-point shooter. So as I watch the game today, my thing is like, okay, if you're a great shooter, I understand why Steph Curry is shooting threes at the rate he's shooting them. But there are a lot of y'all who shouldn't be shooting these threes. That's my problem. And I'm not saying I don't understand the analytics of the game. I'm not saying I'm that guy that's sitting on the porch. No, I get it. What I learned how to play the game with one thing in mind, to win the game. And you can't tell me that shooting 3-point shots at the rate that they're shooting them gives us the best chance to win the game. You can't tell me that because when you get down to the nuts and bolts of the game, it comes down to 3 things that Stacey and I value. You have to defend. You got to stop somebody.
Yep.
You got to, after that great defensive possession, you got to rebound the ball or you're still on defense. So you got to defend, you got to rebound, and you have to share the ball. That's the foundation of winning basketball. Okay. So when you get done with the analytics and the PERs and true shooting percentages and all of that, the team that's going to win the championship this year is going to be the team that defends the best. They're going to rebound the ball, limit the other teams, and they're going to share the ball with each other to get the best shot they possibly can, because in the playoffs, the game is going to change. So I don't know if I would thrive in today's game just because what I did in that era, because I don't know if everyone understands what I value or what we value back in that era, the way I learned how to play the game. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or indifferent. I'm just saying I don't think I would just come down and just pull a 3. Like I can already hear Tex and Phil and these guys already screaming at me right now.
What are you doing?
I can hear, you little jackal. I can hear you won't play for me. I can't imagine what that would be like. And I can hear my high school coach screaming at me. I can hear my college coaches screaming at me. So it's a different time. And, and I don't know if I could like turn that off. If I were playing in today's game.
That's an honest answer, because I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm shooting it. I'm getting it up. I'm coming down, jacking up threes. I'm scoring inside. Yeah. I told you the best defender I ever faced in the NBA was Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson, baby. He shut me down, baby. Shut me down.
The King is holding me back, baby.
He holding me back, baby. He holding me back, baby. Let the chains loose, baby.
I would be. I don't like sometimes I'd be watching the game. I'd be like, wow, I'd be like, players I represent, man, what did that feel like? He'd be like, what? I'd be like, you just came down and shot. He was like, oh, that's what they tell us to do. We got to get up 53s. I was like, really?
Wow.
We got to get them up, So it's just a different way of thinking. So, today it's about, playing in this system where in our era, I was, when I played, I always say this, Stacey, you and I were so blessed to have our very first coach in the NBA was a Hall of Fame coach. And that was a blessing. Tex Winters would make us do bounce pass drills. Like, I was like, what is going on? Like, we did this like when I was in grade school. Everything we did was stressed around the fundamentals of the game. And once I left the Bulls, I finally learned the lesson of what it meant. Like there's nothing else going on other than the fundamentals of the game. If you can't understand why you need to catch the ball with two hands, then you just haven't had the blessing of like understanding the fundamentals of the game, because the fundamentals of the game transfer everywhere. The fundamentals are the fundamentals. Boxing out is boxing out. Making the right pass, the bounce pass or chest pass, or, Stacey, remember when we used to do those passing drills where one of us getting in the middle and you had to get a deflection and you had to fake and do all those things?
Yep.
Like, I couldn't understand it, but once I left, I understood, oh, that's why we won. And then this is why this team loses.
Yeah.
So the fundamentals of the game are the only thing that I look for. We talk about this guy's got a 50-inch vertical, and this guy has a 7'9" wingspan. And okay, what's his fundamental base? Because the fundamentals are going to allow you to play and age gracefully. Because as you get older, as all players understand, if you don't have a fundamentals at 30, you're going to be in trouble in this league because you can't jump the same way you did at 20. As a guard, I wasn't as fast as I was at 21 as I was at 32. So the fundamentals is the most valuable thing that you can learn as a young kid, because that will give you sustained excellence throughout your entire career.
I want to go back to your high school days because everybody dreams of playing in the NBA. The next best thing is going to high school with someone that did. And I have a buddy that went to Brother Rice, and I reached out to him. He was a year older, and guys like Shikes and Tim Bill and all these guys are blowing my phone up now and want me to ask your questions. Somebody send me some grainy video. But take me back. I guess you had a nickname, Baby I or something, and the young BJ Armstrong playing at Brother Rice.
So going back to high school, I grew up in Detroit, and Stacey always claimed I grew up in the suburbs, but I grew up I grew up in the city of Detroit. But again, you got to get lucky. I was fortunate enough, and I was lucky enough to be able to go to a terrific high school that was great in academics, a private high school there in the Detroit area named Brother Rice High School, right? I think there's a Brother Rice there in Chicago as well. Yeah. And growing up there was great because there was a young guard who had got drafted like when I first entered high school. His name was Isaiah Thomas, and he wore number 11. And as a young kid, every young kid wanted to be like Isaiah Thomas. He was flashy, he could handle the ball, he was tough, and you could see he was very special. And I remember when I got to high school, my high school coach, he asked me what number I wanted to wear. I was like, I got to wear number 11. He was like, do you think someday you might play in the NBA? I was like, like every kid, I was like, I want to play in the NBA. Of course, I would be in the NBA. He said, well, let's do this. Why don't you wear number 10? So that way, when you see number 11, you better be ready for him.
Wow.
And I was like, and that's when I was in 9th grade. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So my whole life, it was funny how my life turned out. My whole life, I had this always in the back of my mind, like, I can't wear number 11 because if I saw him, I might have to play against him, and I know we're going to play once we get inside the lines. And the reason I'm telling that story is because when I got to Chicago, we actually played the Pistons. Yeah. And I never forgot that every single time I lined up against Isaiah Thomas. Because when I saw him, I had to remember that I had prepared my entire life to get to this one moment. Wow. And to finally beat them was a very special moment for me in a lot of ways, because I was lucky to have someone who even introduced that idea. You can admire someone, what they have to do, but you better be prepared because you're talking about playing against the very, very best. So it wasn't just enough for me to get to the NBA. It was like, when you see this guy, you better be ready for him. And I remember that. I remember those, battles that we had with those great Detroit teams growing up, watching Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars and Vinnie Johnson as a fan, and, playing against those guys was just was a thrill for me. And, and my parents, my parents they were probably the only parents that would root for me to do well, but they were rooting for the Detroit Pistons to win. My entire family was rooting against me that entire time. So that was kind of my high school career. And I had great coaches, played well. When I say play well, I had great competition. It was always great players growing up in the city of Detroit. And I was fortunate to go on the University of Iowa and then eventually get drafted by the Chicago Bulls.
People don't know how close I came to coming to Iowa.
Oh man,
I was really close to coming to the University of Iowa.
We talk bad about you in Iowa, Stacey.
Man,
you know what, man? Woo! If you would have came there with Ed Horton, who was a McDonald's All-American, the late Roy Marble, who was incredible. We had Kevin Gamble, Brad Lojas. Put you in the mix, King. Hey, baby, we might have gone back-to-back championships.
You know what? They brought me up on the visit on the worst time of the year to go visit Iowa.
Oh, come on.
Super cold. Super cold. Now, kid coming from Oklahoma, they were playing like Northern Iowa. And one thing I did like about Iowa, they always sold out.
Oh, yeah.
Their crowd was I was like, man, this is nice. And they had a world-class locker room. Like, they had fruit. They had fruit. They had fruit.
Oh,
they
have cola gummies.
They had the fruit in the locker room. They had juice machines, like the McDonald's juice machines. And everything. It was off the chain because everywhere else I went, they were low budget. It was low budget.
At Iowa.
And so Iowa set it out. And
Big
so,
Ten, baby.
so I went with Michael Reeves. I went on my I went on my recruiting trip with those guys, Mike Morgan. And we went to Cedar Rapids to hang out in Cedar Rapids. And I didn't have a coat. Like I had a members only jacket on. I think I was the only member.
Yeah, probably.
So it was freezing.
Never gets old.
And I was like, man, I can't come here. It's too cold. It's too cold. No matter all the fans there. And then we end up running into them in a tournament. My sophomore year, I think. Yeah, sophomore year.
I think you guys beat us, right?
We beat you. I think we beat you in Oklahoma City my junior year, but you guys were one game away from getting to the Final Four.
That's right.
Because you lost to Vegas. You lost to Vegas with Armin Gilliam. And so we had beat Vegas that year.
We beat y'all.
You beat us. That's right. You beat us. You beat us to get to the Elite Eight.
To the Elite Eight.
And the reason why they beat us.
That was in Seattle.
It was in Seattle.
Right?
Yes, it was in Seattle. And the reason why they beat us was my coach, the game before Pittsburgh, I had like 20 points and like 15 rebounds. And then the seniors were crying and moaning about my playing time. So then he played me 5 minutes against Iowa. I had like 3 blocks against Iowa in 5 minutes and didn't play anymore. And then we ended up losing. And then he comes back on the plane. He sits next to me on the plane. He says, I should have played you more. I was like, man, if you don't get your ass away from me, I don't want to talk about this right now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, BJ and them, hey man, they had a nice squad too, boy. They can shoot it. They can shoot. But we got them next year though.
Yeah, you guys went to the Final Four.
We went to the Final Four next year. Yep. Sure did.
That's right.
Regrouped.
Oh, man.
We put the right people in the lineup, baby. They put the right people in the lineup, baby. They put the king out there, baby. Oh, Lord. Oh, I never look back. Oh, baby. They turned me loose, BJ. They released me, baby. Released the Kraken. Woo!
That Guinness is kicking in.
You know what? Your little comment.
This is the king.
What?
He's been snake bit.
Hey, listen. You hadn't said 2 words all day, and then all of a sudden you just jump in.
That was 2 words.
Hey, listen. Larry the Lobster. Be quiet.
Man, there were a lot of colleges that wanted to change.
Can we show the camera? Can we get Tim on here?
Yeah,
I want to show you how red Tim is.
Yeah, okay.
BJ hasn't seen me in a good
BJ,
hold your eyes, BJ.
Watch this, BJ. Watch that. Look how red this dude is.
I'm gonna move over to the whispers.
Look at him. There he is.
Coming over. Tim Kelly.
What's up, BJ?
Look at him. Look at him.
How you doing, man?
He looks like a little lobster. Little Larry the Lobster. Look at him.
Spent a week in Florida. He's never been the same.
Oh, Lord, he's burning up over there. Anybody got any butter? Can we put some butter on our man over there?
Like Kramer and the turkey.
Oh, let's baste him, baby. We got a little rotisserie chicken. Oh, Lord.
All right.
We call him Timmy Whispers. You know him, BJ. You know him. Yeah, go ahead. Tell him how you know him. Go ahead.
Well, from the club and from you.
Remember we used to bring you over to Forest Grove, and I used to bring you over there to
yes,
that's Timmy Whispers over there. And And we always have these stories we talk about. There was this one little kid that always was talking trash to me when I was over there. He'd say, yeah, bring BJ Armstrong over. I'll kill him. I'll kill him. So I'd go to practice. I'd be like, yo, B, come on, man. You got to come over and play. You got to come over to my health club, man. There's this little kid. We call him the dancing bear because all he does is dribble, dribble, dribble. I said, you got to come over and play.
Bear.
You got to play with me just one game.
Do you remember his name?
Dave
Chatterow.
Dave Chatterow. Yeah. So BJ comes over.
How do you remember this stuff?
BJ comes over, right? BJ comes over and he goes, "Where's he at, King?" And so it was like I brought like my little attack dog. I'm gonna say, see that little dude over there? Bust his ass. And then BJ, I got him, King. Don't worry about it. He ain't scoring. So we played.
It was ugly.
And it was ugly. It was really. It was like cut me, Mick. Cut
You
me.
guys sound like
It was
a
one of those
bunch of
Rocky
bullies.
moments. We're in a bunch of bullies.
You guys are bullying the people.
Hey, listen, it's pros versus average Joes. If you want to go up against the pros, you can't be talking trash. Okay? We'd have done you that way. Let me have a little bit of drink of my little
Yeah, yeah, there's
He dropped like 50
Snake
straight.
Plissken.
This guy, man.
Woo, boy.
This guy is
Memories, boy. Memories, baby.
Speaking of memories, we do this special thing called Off the Wall.
Yeah, off the wall.
Off the wall.
You never know what direction it's going to go. A lot of times we go back to Stacey's childhood in Lawton, Oklahoma, the mean streets of Lawton.
LA.
LA. Get it right.
Is he still with that? The mean streets of
LA,
Long
baby.
Beach?
Yeah, he got in a playground fight once, and the big
arm.
opposition was a one-armed girl.
Okay, listen. First of all, you guys keep going back to that story. Okay,
Well, it's a great story.
BJ,
It's a great story.
BJ, you got to go back to episode 6. I don't know where it is, but I told our listeners, man, listen, my street fighting record is
Mean
101-1. Okay, 101 victories and 1 loss. Okay, and the 1 loss I had was to a one-armed girl. Okay, and I didn't want to hit her because she had 1 arm and she was a girl. So I don't really consider that a loss. Plus, they jumped me, they rat packed me. All their little friends rat packed me, and so I don't really consider that a loss. I consider that a draw. And these guys never let me forget it because I got jumped by a 1-armed girl.
So the best of Gimme the Hot Sauce coming to a theater near you. But the theme of this is we were wondering, since you grew up in the city of Detroit, not in the suburbs like Stacey likes to say.
Yeah.
What did you and your boys do for entertainment? Back then we didn't watch TV or play video games. You went out and actually competed and did things out in the neighborhood. What kind of
Cops and
games did
robbers?
you guys?
Cops and robbers.
No, we're talking about real cops and robbers in Detroit.
What would we do? Well, playing basketball was always a big thing in my neighborhood. But the one thing we would do is we would play like, two-hand touch football in the street, right? That was like our thing, right? And then if you got too close to the grass, you could tackle somebody, you know what I mean? So that was our thing. Like you played sports, right? You played baseball in the streets, you played football in the streets. And, we would go to the park or wherever you play basketball. So playing sports was always a big thing for us. I'm trying to think of other things we would do, doing wheelies, on our bike, doing wheelies on your bike.
Right.
For the kid who had a bike in the neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of us didn't have bikes, BJ.
All of us didn't have bikes,
Yeah, we didn't have bikes.
You would do wheelies.
We just watched people do wheelies.
Yeah, playing sports was a big thing for us. That was like, you played sports, year round. You play in the snow, you played, in the winter, the summer, spring. So sports was always a big part of my life growing up in Detroit.
John, I know you've got some stories for us, right?
No, it's a quick story. It's just wiffle ball. I was a dominant wiffle ball player as a kid.
Hey, let's just say that for a different segment. Okay, nobody wants to dominate. He was dominant. Come on, man.
I'm still going to issue the challenge.
Would you play against Tom Brady in football too?
I had the 12-6, the Don Sutton. I had the slider.
God.
We had the Wrigley Field with the shrubbery. And
It should have been Fenway Park where you grew up.
It was more like Wrigley, but I'm a dominant. I'm just going to say dominant softball player.
Shotgun
He
button.
does that when our daughters bring boys over to the house.
Yeah.
John challenges them to wiffle ball.
He challenges him to a wrestling match. He gets all oiled up in his singlet.
He gets his little wrestling singlet on. And his little cup.
Body
He gets a little cup on and he starts wrestling.
No, we get Southside.
Come on,
out there.
boys.
No, I just want to see if they can hit. That's all. My daughter.
Come on, guys.
Let me
You want to
pitch
see my cards?
You want to come to the basement? It's hot down there. I got my cards there. Yeah. Let's go look at my cards.
Yeah, some history there.
Hey, little boy, you want some candy?
All right, King. So besides beating up one arm, what games did you play?
No, we're not talking about me right now. We're not talking about me right now. No, we're not talking about me right now. I got another question for BJ.
All right.
Okay, we're getting off topic again because this is called off the wall, so I'm all off the wall. Thanks to this Guinness and the snake bite over here, I'm all over the place. So BJ, you know my relationship with Derrick. You know how I love Derrick. I love the Roses. Derrick's my man, and let the listeners know your relationship with Derrick. And since he's left here, everybody basically just thought he was done. And now he's reinvented himself into, it's funny, we talk about this, that he's reinvented himself into what people wanted him to be in the beginning.
Yeah. In this business I'm in as a, sports agent and a representation business, you have the business relationship. And with him, it's been, he's family, He's terrific. He's great. I love the kid. And for him to have this opportunity to play in Chicago was a thrill. And, the one thing is it's always so hard because you do your job and you get paid to do it and all those things, but then it means something more to you when you're doing it at home. Right. And so playing in Chicago was a thrill. And to hear Stacey, too big, too strong, too fast, and Derrick and his family, it was, when I say you a dream come true, it was a dream. It was great. And we always, I remember when he first walked in the building after getting drafted. I remember when the Bulls got the number 1 pick, the possibility of playing at home. And it was just such a high. It was such things just fell into place. And then of course, the business gets in and then he gets traded and that was just so tough because it wasn't like you were just getting traded and you go to another team, it was like, this is your home. So that was tough to navigate through and the injuries, so forth and so on. But the one thing about him is that this young man is a fighter, right? If you say, what is Chicago really all about? You're going to fall down and you're going to get back up. Well, okay, we literally saw someone fall down, pick himself up off, and he's reinvented himself. When he came into this league, he was, when I tell you elite of the elite, as far as an athlete, he was every bit of that. And then to figure out how to play his game and still be just as effective and figure out and play to where he's contributing. It loves it. So, you just give this young man a challenge and he's going to figure it out. So that's been the great thing to watch is you watch the great players. I remember watching Michael later in his career, early in his career, you never saw him fading away. At the end of his career, you saw him fading away because he had figured out how to adjust and adapt his game and figure out how to be just as effective, but you do it a different way. So to watch Derrick, how he's playing with so much poise, how he's playing now using angles, because when he first came in the league, it was literally, as Stacey would say, beep, beep. He would just get it. He was gone. He was off to the races, I never seen a player, you can just throw lobs to your point guard. When I was playing, a guard goes back door, you just had to look for the bounce pass. Now guys dunking the ball and doing the things and finishing over the top. And he was playing the game with such force that it was just incredible to watch. So, to watch him now, I love to talk to him because he's talking about angles and he's talking about things that I can actually understand. Because before I was like, hey man, how did you do that? What was that like dunking on this 7-footer? What was that like? He's doing backwards dunks. I didn't know what to say, then. But now, we can actually talk and you can say, hey man, tell me about the pull-up jump shot. Oh yeah, I knew about that, So, but no, he's doing great. He's back home with Tom Thibodeau, and him and Tibbs has this special relationship that only those two know about. And he's doing terrific. But Chicago will always be in his heart, and that's his home, that's his base, that's his family, and and you never know how things will turn out in the end. But I can tell you this: when I tell you those were the greatest times, those were great, and we all miss Chicago. I was living in Chicago at the time. his family and all his friends are still there. But wherever he goes, Chicago is always going to be in his heart.
Yeah, BJ, a couple of years ago, Derrick was a free agent, and there was a possibility that maybe the Bulls would bring him back. It didn't work out that time. He ended up going to Detroit. Do you see a scenario where maybe the last year of Derrick's career could be spent in a Chicago Bulls uniform?
You never know, and you never know. I would love to see him finish his career in a place where it began. And you know what? I was lucky enough that I finished my career back in Chicago in my last year, and it was really a sentimental thing, but it really meant a lot. That from that picture I showed you guys at the beginning, you walked in as this young, wide-eyed kid, and then you finish your career. So, we'll see. We'll see how it happens, and we'll see how things turn out. But right now, he still has a lot of good basketball left. Right now,
Absolutely.
They're in the playoff hunt there in New York. He's, found his rhythm. The team there in New York has really turned things around. They're in the playoff hunt. So, we're a few years away from making that decision, hopefully. And but you never know how things will turn out.
For those of you who are not watching us on YouTube, BJ has a couple of framed jerseys behind him, the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain's Philadelphia 76ers, number 13. Before we say goodbye, I want to let the folks know at home that B.J. Armstrong's number was retired by the Chicago Bulls. It's number 10. People think it was Bob Love, but it was actually B.J. Armstrong's 10. And you told that story earlier that you had to work up to number 11. Well, you came back for your last year with the Bulls, and you wore Isaiah's number 11. So your number's retired. I mean, what kind of career putting a button on it? That's pretty special stuff.
Yeah, so Bob's number was retired. Actually, somewhere in there in one of those years,
right.
I was there playing, and look, he was a phenomenal player, and it was an honor to wear that number and know what that number has meant to the city of Chicago. And then when I came back, I was like, oh yeah, I wear number 10. Oh, I forgot, it was already retired. So, but no, it was good, great. Those were great times. And is to see my guy King, but I just said, I'm telling you, when I tell you the man is the funniest person I've ever met, that guy right there. I mean, he's the best. That's my friend. And just happy to say, to know that anything I ever would need, I can always make that call to the King.
Yes, sir,
and that's my guy. So, and you guys keep doing your thing. You got a great show here. Give me the hot sauce. I'm gonna try. I want to be your agent when you finally get your own brand of hot sauce. I'm claiming that right now. I know you have an agent, but the hot sauce, that's my lane, and I'm your agent of record, right?
Wow.
Give me the hot sauce right there.
Oh, my boy, still like he about 24 years old, boy. Give me some of that oil of Olay you using, boy. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I look pretty young my damn self too. So me and BJ, we really take care of our faces. We get facials.
The moneymaker.
Hey. Some people have a face for radio. Timmy Whispers. Timmy Whispers has a face for radio. He's got a face only a mother can love. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. Look, there he is, right there. Look, there he is.
Hey, BJ, represent me for some sunblock, will you?
Yeah,
sunblock. I got it.
Yeah, get him some butter, man. He's a lobster. Oh my goodness.
And you can check out B.J. Armstrong. He's also in the podcast game, the co-host of the Pushing Through Pod. How many episodes you guys done so far?
Man, I have no idea. We've been doing it now for.
Well, Southside knows. So how many Southside?
I think it's 118.
Wow.
Woo!
Oh yeah.
Wow.
There you go. I mean, we did it.
She's our stat girl.
Don't hold me on that.
She's our stat girl back there. She's normally wrong 95% of the time, but it's the effort that counts.
Hey, as King would say, King would shout this out of the game. You're playing hard, baby, but you're hurting
us. You're playing hard, but you're hurting us, baby. Oh boy!
Hey, Stacey, before we go, do you remember the heckler that was at the Washington?
Yeah, Robin Ficker.
Yeah.
Man.
Did we talk about that in an episode?
Just a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, with the book.
Beej, we brought this up a couple episodes ago. I was saying that today's kids would not be able to deal with that guy. That guy was ruthless. Me and BJ, we were young kids. We'd be sitting there, it'd be a timeout, and Phil would be Phil would be sitting there going over the play, and then the guy would yell, "Hey, Tex Winter!" He says, "Hey, you like even work on a shrimp boat?" So me and BJ would just start cracking up laughing, and then he'd say, "Hey, rookies, what are y'all laughing at?" And then Phil would turn around, "Hey, pay attention to me. Listen here, don't listen to him." I'm like, wow, man. I'm like, Phil, but he is funny, though. He is funny. He's funny.
Hey, that's the only guy that I think he rivals Stacey.
He was funny. He was funny.
So,
that dude was funny. Remember, I told Bobby, had Bobby on, and when he had the boxing glove, and he told Bobby had got into a fight with somebody in Utah, and it's like, and he had that old dusty Joe Louis boxing glove. "Come on, Bobby, come get me. You like to fight old people? Come fight me." And then Bobby's like, we literally had to hold Bobby back. Bobby was about ready to jump into the stands to get the guy. Oh my God! I
remember that, Stacey.
Hey.
Bobby was mad at you.
Why are you mad at me? I wasn't the one that said it.
But you repeat. Hey, man. I just remember him. He was funny.
He was.
And I remember this. He was the only guy that threw me off my game. I was at the free throw line. And I'll never forget this because Stacey was riding me. He was like, it was quiet, it was quiet in that arena. And all of a sudden he said, "Hey, little BJ," because he would call me little BJ.
Yeah, little BJ.
Stacey would always, "Hey, little BJ," all the game. And I'd be kind of mad at Stacey, right? He said, "Hey, little BJ, it's past your bedtime." And Stacey thought that was so funny. And I stopped. I remember I was at the arena and I stopped. I was like, "Stacey, you can't laugh at his jokes, right?" He was like, "Little BJ." And then when he found out that he got your attention, so he called me Little BJ my entire career.
Yep.
Thanks to Stacey.
Yep.
He would always shout, "It's past your bedtime."
Oh man. Hey, we were remember when he was reading Phil's book Maverick, and he was reading all these excerpts in the book. Phil cheated on so and so. Phil was using LSD, and he used LSD before the game. All these things was in the book, and then Phil turned around. And goes,
I said,
"Hey, that's low, Robin. Robin, that's low. That's really low."
No, Stacey, that was one of the funny things because we were in a huddle.
Yes.
And all of a sudden Phil was like, "Okay, Robin, that's low." And everybody was like, "What the hell is going on?"
What did he just say? Where is he reading this from? I mean, he's reading all these excerpts. The Jordan Rules. He read all the Jordan Rules excerpts. Oh, man. He was like, "MJ, none of your teammates like you. Look at Horace Grant said in chapter 7. Like, oh my God. He'd have all this stuff down. And here's the remember here, hold on. Hey, Bees, here's the kicker, Bees. Here's the kicker. So it was payback time for Robin Ficker, okay? So Robin Ficker got in trouble for domestic abuse. Now you got to remember, he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
He was a big time lawyer in DC. So he gets in trouble for domestic abuse. So it was in the newspaper. So Phil comes back to the game and so he's starting to do his little spiel on us again. So Phil goes, "Hey, are you hitting your wife anytime soon?" "Yeah. Did you get arrested for beating your wife, Robin?" And he's like, "Wow, Phil, that's real low." That's the first time I ever heard him quiet. I was like, wow, he shut up. He didn't mess with us too much after that. Remember they flew him to Phoenix in the finals?
Oh, yeah. See, I forget all these things.
See? Yeah, they flew him to Phoenix to sit behind our bench. I think Charles Barkley paid for him to come. And they put him behind our bench to heckle us.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how serious it was. I mean, back in those days, Bees, I was telling them, back in those days, the hecklers that we saw, was Leon the Barber.
Leon the Barber. He was brutal.
He was brutal. He's brutal. Yeah. Him, you got Ficker. These kids today would have to go get therapy session.
Okay,
yeah, they'd have to go get a therapy session.
One last thing. Remember in New Jersey with the national anthem?
Okay. Carl Lewis. Oh my God! So, okay, y'all remember that, right?
I remember that.
That was our game.
Yeah.
Wow. That was
So Carl Lewis comes out with this blood red suit, looks like a can of Black Flag. And so he's out there. He's like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we got Olympic gold medalist Carl Lewis going to sing the national anthem. Everybody's, because he's from New Jersey. So he gets out there and he's like, how y'all doing? Like he's in a concert. Like, I'm like, dude, are you going to sing the national anthem? What are you doing? It's not a concert.
We got a game to play.
He's like, how y'all doing out there in New Jersey? I love y'all. Y'all ready? And then he's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, say, can I sing?
And then he stopped himself. Hold on.
I'll do better. Give me one more chance. I'll do better. We were all sitting over there like dying. Like all of our heads are down, and we're like laughing. It was hilarious because he messed up like twice. And he was like, he played it off. It was really funny though. B, that was a good one too. I forgot about that one.
I just remember, all I could think was, what's Stacey gonna say? Because Stacey is better than the actual event.
I kind of feel that way, Beach. I'm still. I have to load the clip every so often of my own kids.
He did it, but I was like, let's get to the locker room because I want to hear Stacey.
So Bill was on a few weeks ago. And so we were talking about that scrimmage we had in Miami when it was like a really chippy scrimmage. First team, second team, it was really competitive. Boom, boom, boom. So BJ's behind Phil Jackson, and Dennis Hobson was like getting into with everybody that particular day. So BJ was back there just talking trash. Yeah, Hop, you ain't gonna do nothing. Quit talking. You ain't gonna do nothing. You ain't gonna do it. Just kept talking. So Hop was like getting even more mad. Everybody's ready to fight. So Phil's like. And you can see he's getting mad because everybody's talking. And BJ's the ringleader. He's in the back. Shut up, you little jackal! And so we're like, who's he talking to? Who's he calling a jackal? And he turns around, looks at BJ. I'm tired of you talking shit. You always got something to say. And BJ's like, Phil, what are you talking about? It wasn't me. It wasn't me. You little jackal. You always are starting something. So we get on the bus, right? So everybody's like, BJ's like, man, I don't know why he came at me. I wasn't the only one talking. Everybody was fighting. Why he come at me? So we get on the bus. And so first thing I do, get on the bus. BJ's in the back of the bus. Where's that jackal? You little jackal.
I was so mad at you.
He was hot. He was hot at me. He was mad at me. He didn't talk to me for a couple of days.
I remember that. The King, man. The King is.
Oh, Lord. We got some great stories, man.
I'm sorry, but
No,
man. This is what it's all about, man.
This man has so many
off the wall, baby.
Off the wall, baby. This is what it's about, man. Hey, we got no time limit when we got some good stuff on here, baby.
Man. It's great, man. Hey, I thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Man,
Well, BJ said when he came on, he says, I'm ready to laugh because whenever I get around Stacey, I know he's going to be telling stories. And Stacey, you lived up to the billing.
Yeah, you did, man.
He told me that. He's like, man, I can't wait to get on. I know I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready to laugh. I know I'm coming at you. I'm like, okay, come on, Hey, come on. Come on.
Stacey would talk about everybody's clothes. I mean, we're talking about everything.
Bees, be honest though. Like, I wouldn't come at you unless you came at me.
Well, no, that's not true. You was going to come at you regardless.
No, because like when me and BJ first came in and Jeff Sanders, they were hard on us as rookies. And so like they just dogged Jeff Sanders. He couldn't defend himself. I mean, he didn't put himself in good situations. Me and BJ we were on time. Remember, hey, how about that time we went out the first time we go out in Chicago, me and BJ, we had 2 days. And then we had this particular day we had the 1 day off, so we only had one practice. So Jeff convinced us to go downtown to the Cotton Club. So downtown Chicago, it was our first time going downtown. So me and BJ were like, I don't know, man. Maybe we should stay in. What do you think, King? I was like, nah, let's go, man. Let's just go down there and hang out for a little bit. So we ride with Jeff. He's the only one with a car. So we go with Jeff. We ride down there. So it's getting late. So me and BJ, we ready to go home. where's Jeff? Like looking around, we get on the DJ box. Hey man, can you call out Jeff Sanders' name, please? It's Jeff Sanders in the house. Bulls, Stacey King, and BJ Armstrong looking for Jeff.
Need a ride home.
Need a ride home. Jeff nowhere to be seen. Jeff done went off to Stony Island somewhere, taking somebody home. So me and BJ like sitting at the Cotton Club was waiting. So then all of a sudden Jeff comes back, and then we end up going home. And then it was late. It was late night. We got to practice, but Jeff didn't. He didn't get
Sleepy.
He didn't get the practice. He didn't get the practice. But I don't want to go into the rest of the story. But that was just part of the story.
Heavily censored.
Yeah, heavily censored.
BJ, it's been a thrill to have you on. Enjoyed
BJ,
swapping stories and having laughs. We got to get you back.
Because I forget these stories. King, that man remembers everything. But more importantly, man, it's beautiful, man. Stacey, man, I love you. You know,
I love you
my
too,
guy,
boy.
man. And thanks for Mark, man. Thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure. And keep doing your thing and keep entertaining the Stacey because I don't know, man. This guy is he's unbelievable.
Often imitated, but never duplicated.
And BJ, if you ever need somebody to tell your kids that your number was retired by the Bulls, I can hook you up on that, okay?
Yo, you can do that?
Yeah.
All right, yo, you guys be good.
The great BJ Armstrong joining us on the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast, a classic episode 20.
Yeah, man.
That's my boy.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all, man.
Bring us home with the
Stacey,
music,
man. I don't know. He is this way. I just wish some of these stories we could tell.
I do too. I wish we could get some of the X-rated story.
Oh, yeah, we had so much fun visiting with BJ Armstrong. We have to have him back real soon. That was definitely, I would say, our number one guest so far. It was so much fun hearing you guys tell stories about your days with the Bulls, breaking in together as rooks.
Man, it was just, it was like just so funny. Like, it was, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. I mean, I felt like I was on the bus with the team.
Yeah, I think BJ's still laughing in his home.
Yeah. He just texted me, told me he had a great time.
His kids are probably looking at him like, Dad, you're going crazy.
Yeah. You been drinking, Dad?
It was great to have BJ on, but before we get out of here, we want to talk a little football because the Bears have been all over the NFL news. Free agency officially began on St. Patrick's Day, I believe, at 3 o'clock Central Time. But there were a flurry of deals agreed to before that. And the upshot of it is the Bears made a bid to try to acquire Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks. The report is that Ryan Pace met with the Seahawks general manager in Fargo, North Dakota, when they were going to check out Trey Lance from North Dakota State on his pro day. And Pace reportedly offered 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and 2 defensive starting players to try to get Russell Wilson, who's an outstanding quarterback, Stacey, but he's 32, and you wonder, why would you want to give up that much? Even though Wilson is going to be a huge upgrade, you're really mortgaging the future of the franchise.
Yeah, you are mortgaging your future. And if you're going to make that type of push to get someone, why not Deshaun Watson?
Exactly.
Why not put that same package? Because that is a big-time package to get a quarterback. And I'm sure Houston would have jumped at that opportunity, especially now. They'd have jumped at that opportunity because with all the negative press right now that Deshaun Watson is having. Now, granted, he hasn't been convicted of anything. It's just hearsay, and so we don't really know the whole logistics of the story. But now that's a tough situation if you're Houston now, because his trade value is now basically gone down now.
Yeah, and he was requesting a trade away from the Texans organization, saying they didn't know how to run their football organization. And now, with him being in the news for some very negative publicity, maybe they will grant his request. I mean, that'll be something we'll have to watch. But in the meantime, the Bears decided they couldn't wait on Watson. They couldn't get Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks, so they signed Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, who some people are calling the Red Pop Gun.
Why not just keep Trubisky?
Well, he's with the Buffalo Bills now.
But you know what? Listen, come on, man.
Well, he's older. He's older and slower and has worse stats.
Other than that,
He
though,
sounds perfect
And
for
costs
the
more.
Bulls.
And costs more.
Come on, man. I mean, seriously, you already got Foles in that position. Okay, just keep Trubisky. Get you an offensive coordinator. Get some offensive linemen. Spend that money on what you actually need. You know what I'm saying? To let that kid walk and to bring in Andy Dalton. There was this there's this thing on the internet yesterday. Internet's undefeated. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so it was kind of like the Wheel of Fortune. I think it was Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, you sent that out.
And I sent it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they were like, it looked like it was going to be Russell Wilson's name, and it turned out to be Andy Dalton's name. And then the guy's face was like priceless. That was hilarious, because that's basically what it was. Is that you get Bears fans' hopes up super high. Oh, they're going after Russell Wilson. We're gonna get him, and then you get stuck with someone else, and you're like,
yeah, it's the old bait and switch known in advertising. You know what I feel bad for? It's bad for all Bear fans, but for transplanted Bear fans who live across the Wisconsin border, like our friends the Walshes, Southside Susie's got to deal with going into her local Piggly Wiggly and taking crap from everybody again.
We went shopping for a Cadillac, and we came home with a Hyundai.
that's
about
a good
right.
one.
And Twitter was ablaze. So the Bears fans are threatening to drive their cars into the Illinois River, calling out of work, burning all their Bears clothes. And for me personally, it's just another year in Packer hell.
But for the record, I'm just a Patriots fan, remember? And so
be quiet.
I'm pretty happy.
What a surprise that came up.
Surprise! What was the over/under that was coming up today?
Didn't you say we weren't going to talk about
Well, I know,
it?
but you mentioned transplants, and I'm very happy with what the Patriots did, loading up again, because it's only two things: you're either building for a championship or it's a rebuild.
And I'm sure all your friends at Piggly Wiggly were quick to point out that the Packers have had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks in the last 30 years.
Yeah,
How many of the Bears? You were doing some research on
Well,
that.
since '92, the Packers have had exactly 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And last count,
2 good ones.
Hall of Famers.
I think it's 24. It might be a couple more. 24.
Well, it's going to be
quarterbacks.
25.
Yeah,
right?
true. 24 quarterbacks.
So this
Same period.
segment is normally on the down low. You have to go in disguise to your local supermarket. Right? You can't wear that Bears gear anymore.
I bought a brand new White Sox hat.
Yes,
Yeah.
I saw it. It was pretty sweet. Hey,
Southside Pride.
I might
Get
retire
ready
to
for the
the-
start of baseball
I say,
season.
Bears fans, let's just storm the Halas Hall. That's what I say. I'm with you, baby. I'm
in.
with you. Let's
With
storm.
torches and
Let's go,
pitchforks.
Hey, let's do it, man. Listen, man. I'm
Put
tired
on
of
your
this.
Dalton jersey and get over
I'm
it.
tired of this, man. I'm tired. It's nothing against Andy Dalton. Nothing
No.
against Andy Dalton. I feel bad for him, because if he doesn't come here and they're not winning, he's going to get butchered.
Did you see the picture on social media with him and his wife? They had Bears hats on. They were smiling ear to ear, and I'm thinking, that poor couple. They don't have no idea what they're in for. You
His
know,
wife's probably like, why the hell did you get me on this photo? Like, you just could have taken this
They
by yourself.
recognize me.
you should be doing that on the down low.
Now they're going to find me in the Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah, and Andy Dalton took the Bengals to a number of playoff appearances. He's a competent NFL quarterback. Finished up the season after the starting quarterback Dak Prescott got hurt in Dallas, and did an okay job. I'm sure he'll be serviceable, but when you were talking about, as you mentioned, talking about that Mercedes or whatever Cadillac, and you get the used beat up Toyota, it's not quite the same thing.
Now, they say Andy Dalton is the perfect signing for a team who wants to assure their starter their job is completely safe. That was another one from Twitter.
And
I feel for him. I do.
That just, wow. That was low.
And we're
That was brutal.
we're recording
He told
this
me to research.
episode on Thursday night, and as we were doing the show, more Bears news coming across. They released Kyle Fuller, a Pro Bowl cornerback, one of your very valuable defensive starters, in a cost-cutting move to save cap space. And they've given Akeem Hicks agent permission to seek a trade. Akeem Hicks, one of the
Is
most
this a
popular
fire
players.
sale?
What's going
All
on?
things must go, I guess. And they were over the cap. They made some moves to get about even.
Right.
But I have no idea what they're doing. And Ryan Pace is supposed to be in a situation where it's win or lose your job. And this is the way he's starting that season.
Hey, he might just be in one of those situations. He's like, hey, I'm going out anyway, so everybody's going with me.
Titanic just start throwing
Yeah.
deck
Hey,
chairs up.
he'll be there with the band. They'll be the last people to leave.
Yeah.
Hey, no, Ryan Pace is going to jump on there with women and children. Hey, this is my daughter. This is my daughter here. Oh, okay, bring her on. Okay. All right, here, take this little girl back. I don't know who she is.
Time to update the resume, no question about
Wow.
it. Hey, before we get out of here, we want to pay tribute to the late, great, marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Marvelous.
Former champion. We grew up in a time when boxing was in its golden era. Fights against Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, just
Roberto
some great,
Duran.
some great fighters
He
back
won that
then.
fight against Leonard.
Oh, he did.
Oh, yeah.
And that fight, and we talked about that fight, losing to Leonard really took him out of boxing. He was done after that because, it took him so long to get a title shot. The people who had the title before he had it, Alan Minter and all these guys, they refused to fight him. They would not fight him. So he had to fight for like 7, 8, 9, 10 years before he got a title shot. And then once he got his title shot, he didn't give up the title ever again. He defended it so many times.
50 fights to get to the title fight.
Yeah,
That's
50.
which is still
That's unheard of.
And
He fought anybody.
people were posting highlights of the classic 3-round fight against Tommy Hearns, where it was just one haymaker after another.
Man,
the war.
that was probably one of the best 3-round fights ever.
Yeah.
Because you had two of the best pound for pound guys that were deadly at that time. Tommy Hitman Hearns was deadly at that time. And he hit Marvin Hegler with like some serious, they would have knocked out anybody else. But Hegler was just had such a strong will. He refused to lose. And it came from his background, coming up, being, in a poor situation, having to fight his way through things. He was just hungry, to wait 50 fights to get a championship title fight. That's unheard of in boxing.
And I'll tell you what.
He's from Brockton, Massachusetts.
I was just going to say that. And
good one, Mark.
there was nothing like. Hey, Rocky Marciano was from Brockton, just so you guys know. But I'm going to tell you, there was not. I was in the city of Boston during that
you met
time.
Marvin?
And no, but I felt like I did because the whole city rallied around Marvin. We used to watch him train. They had video of him out there.
Did you
running.
shave your head?
No, well, I had
ready to do that now.
You're already looking like Marvin right now.
Hey, I had a flock of seagulls haircut back
No,
then.
you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You didn't.
Yeah, I had big curls.
Okay,
yeah.
we
We'll
need
put
to
some
see a
pictures
photo of that.
on the
I need to
website.
see a
we'll
photo
see.
of that.
We'll see. We're talking about Marvelous. So.
And I ran so far away. Just to get away. Oh, see, you just think I'm a hip hop guy. You think I'm a rap hip hop guy. Yes, I'm a music connoisseur.
No, he was all over. We were talking about losing your hearing, and Susan thought it was Roger Daltrey. And he's like, come on, now it's Pete Townsend. This guy, he knows classic
I know
rock
music,
and roll.
man. That's right.
He knows hip hop.
I know everything, man.
He knows
I
man
listen
for all
to all of it,
seasons.
man. I listen to all of it, except for Burl Lives.
Hey, John, before we get out of here,
Live Christmas songs. I love that.
show the folks your nice shirt honoring our sponsor, Bubble Up.
Oh,
baby.
The Cloud Reimagined.
Look at
So
that,
make sure to
baby.
download the Bubble Up app. Bubble Up.
he has a different shirt on every week, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Got to wear it proudly.
And he never wears the same one twice because Bubble Up gave him like 100 shirts, only gave us one. Way to go, Bubble Up. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, I wear the
Bubble Up,
merchandise.
I love you.
I
I
wear
love
the
you.
merchandise.
He got more merchandise than the rest of us.
He's got plenty of swag. There's no question
Way to
about
go,
it.
man. Way to go, John.
Hey, we want to thank BJ Armstrong, just a fantastic guest. We had so much fun listening to Stacey and BJ swap stories about their playing days. Just a fantastic guest, and I hope you enjoyed that as well. Episode number 20. Your old coach, Doug Collins, was number 20 with his Philadelphia 76ers.
Bernie Kosar.
A lot of great number 20s over time. Frank Robinson.
Don Sutton.
Yeah.
Barry
Mike
Sanders.
Schmidt.
Michael Jack Smith.
Larry the Lobster.
Lou Brock, the late great. Barry Sanders, we were talking some football. So we thank you so much for listening to episode 20 of Gimme the Hot Sauce. We want to welcome Pandora aboard. You can find our podcast there as well. We got a new episode coming up next week as we look ahead to the NBA trade deadline coming up on March 25th. Stacey, take us out of here.
Give me the hot sauce, baby. Drive home safely. Beep, beep. Larry the Lobster.